So it's not like this is a gradual rise here. We're going up the curve where everything does this. We can already start to feel that it's happening so fast. It's like, well, where's it going to be in another 2 years' time? And then another 2 years' time? It's beyond our comprehension. Well, it's the best performing asset in all human history. Since 2012, it's up 64 million % since I started looking at it. Now, I didn't unfortunately keep my original investment all the way through, but I know some people who did. I bought it and sold it, but have held on for a very long time, and all of my net worth is basically in this. In my liquid net worth is in crypto. So it goes up massively fast. On average, about 145% a year.
The world is evolving at a pace that's almost impossible to grasp. Artificial intelligence now impacts nearly every profession, and money itself is becoming digital. Those who understand the speed of this transformation are turning to the one asset that mirrors it: Bitcoin, the best-performing investment in recorded history. Raoul Pal, CEO of Real Vision, says we're at the intersection of two exponential forces: AI and digital money. Each is transformative on its own, but together they're reshaping how wealth is created. As AI accelerates productivity, capital flows toward the hardest, most scarce store of value, and that's where Bitcoin shines. Pal believes we're witnessing the start of a decade-long wealth migration, fueled by innovation and monetary debasement. Stick around as he breaks down the latest developments between AI and Bitcoin, insights that could signal the largest wealth transfer of our lifetime. We're not here for small gains, we're here for life-changing wealth. Crypto is the frontier of the digital revolution, and most people aren't paying attention yet. If you're aiming for massive gains, why wouldn't you do it tax-free? With ITrust Capital, you can buy, sell, and hold over 80 crypto assets inside a tax-sheltered IRA. That means no taxes or capital gains on trades, ever. It's not just about what you invest in, it's how you invest. With ITrust Capital's self-directed IRAs, you can grow your portfolio in the most tax-advantaged way possible. Sign up today with the link and use code DOSE7 for a $100 funding bonus, and start stacking tax-free gains now.
So everything going to zero, there's two forces that really I'm focused on. One is, you alluded to earlier, and we can go into it in more detail in a bit, which is the fact that the system of money that we know is being debased, which means they're printing money. And why are they doing that? They're doing that to pay the debts that we've accumulated over the years as nations, not only the United States, but all over the world. And that's driven by this aging population that's been happening. So money essentially keeps falling in value, and people realize that by the fact that their wages actually don't go up, but the cost of things goes up. And I'm not talking about food and stuff. That kind of inflation is more cyclical. What I'm talking about is the important things for young people is like, can I buy a house? So young people start thinking, why can't I buy a house? Why do houses still go up? And I'm working really hard and I'm working 2 or 3 different jobs. That's because optically they're devaluing the value of the currency, and it makes these assets expensive. But their wages don't go up in the same way. So that's one thing. The value of the currency goes to zero over time. So it's not an instant collapse. It's a slow thing that just makes life harder for everybody. The second thing is that most economic value is based on 2 things, either knowledge or labor. You either physically do things or you mentally do things. The value of those 2 things over time is going to zero because of the rise of AI and robots. The robots, and then the AI is giving the robot intelligence, so that competes with a human. What are we? We're, the physical manifestation of intelligence, and we can do things with our physical bodies. So as you look out into the future, the rise of robots with AI brains, whether it's a car, self-driving car is just a robot with an AI brain, a drone can be a robot with an AI brain, or a humanoid robot with an AI brain. And our whole economic system has been built on either physical labor, you build things, do things, service things, clean things, or you're getting paid to, whether you're a clerk in an insurance company or whether you're a lawyer, you're being paid for your knowledge and your intelligence. Now, as this revolution in AI accelerates, the cost of compute keeps going down, but intelligence keeps rising of these models. Right now, the frontier models are probably having an IQ similar to like a person with an IQ of 150. So that's extremely smart, but it's doubling every year. So by next year, it's an IQ of 300, let's say. Well, that's smarter than any human ever. And then it doubles again, and it doubles again. And all it's taking is more energy and more compute. There's this flywheel that keeps driving this. And so there's a mad scramble to lower the cost of energy, whether it's via solar, nuclear, whatever. That drives more compute. There's a mad scramble to make computing more efficient and faster. And that drives all of this intelligence flywheel further. On the robotics side, we've only really started that journey. Yes, we've got self-driving cars. So, self-driving cars, let's think of a Tesla. At scale, they've got cameras that are learning, like a human, how to navigate the world around them. So it's not a pre-programmed thing. It kind of uses a map, like we would, and then looks at the environment around it and says, well, if that car pulls out, then this is what normally happens, etc. Exactly as we learn. These are these kind of visual neural networks. So then you've got this thing that same brain can be put into the humanoid robot, and that over time is getting cheaper in compute costs, even though people are spending so much on data centers because there's more and more compute going on. And then the robotics at scale, I mean, there's already humanoid robots in China, and they're like 15 grand. And yes, they don't have the intelligence of what Tesla are trying to do and what others are trying to do. But eventually, you'll have if you think about it, let's say a 15 grand robot with above human intelligence. So if you think of employing somebody, they cost you what? The average salary in the United States is like 48 grand a year or whatever. Okay, so for one-off cost plus a bit of electricity, you can get something that will work 24/7, never has a sick day or anything else. Okay, that's what role do we play? We'll come on to what role we play in society and economics later, but that's the scale of what is happening, and it's happening at an exponential rate. So it's not like this is a gradual rise here. We're going up the curve where everything does this. We can already start to feel that it's happening so fast, you can't comprehend it. When you're on Twitter and you see these kind of models where you can just put in a couple of words and make it almost a movie out of it. Right? 2 years ago, ChatGPT was barely started, and now we're at this. It's like, well, where's it going to be in another 2 years' time? And then another 2 years' time? It's beyond our comprehension. Firstly, we've got that first big trend, which is the debasement of currency. So if you don't do anything about your life, you carry on, you do your job, you don't make investments, you'll never be able to afford that house or invest in other assets. What is an asset? You hear this, people talk about, oh yeah, you want to buy assets. And people use that word. An asset is just a way of locking up savings now to use it for consumption later. It's like deferred consumption. And you should get paid an excess return for locking your money away. Problem is, that's how everybody's parents got wealthy. They bought houses for nothing. They put money in the stock market when it was really cheap. And at the end of it, they've got money. But young people now don't have that. There's no choice for them. They can't afford any of this stuff. So that mega trend of that debasement of currency means that you end up doing one job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And we're seeing that with everybody. I alone do 3 jobs. Everybody does this now. So that only gets worse. And the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The rich own assets. Regular working people don't. And they don't think about it, and they don't really understand it, and they think, well, I can't. Because that's for people who have money, that's for people who know a broker on Wall Street, or that's the people who have an investment advisor. But it's not true. There's a revolution going on in stuff like crypto that makes the big difference. Okay, let's go to 2030. So what happens at 2030? Well, we've already been talking about intelligence going exponential. So it starts to do weird things to the job market. We know that. Everyone's talking about that. But it actually does really weird things to the economic machine. So economy, the trend rate of growth of an economy, how the United States grows or whichever country, is basically this formula, which is population growth, more people means a bigger economy, how productive they are, what output do they do when they work? And then debt growth, which is a way of kind of covering up the cracks, where you just put debt and things grow. But that has to be paid back in the end. And we kind of hit that in 2008 in the financial crisis. And the whole economy is based on servicing the debts that we accumulated ever since then. After 2030, if you think about it, what I've described with the AI and the robots is infinite humans. That's what we're building here, is infinite humans that can come into the global economy. Okay, great. Economic growth picks up. But who gets paid for that growth? Who gets paid? Is it the robot companies? But it's not us. So then what do? Get a universal basic income? Maybe, but the government haven't got any money. So how are they going to pay that without debasing more currency? Okay, that's pretty fucked.
Artificial intelligence and robotics are advancing at an unprecedented pace. Each year, their capabilities double while computing costs continue to fall, creating a self-reinforcing cycle fueled by cheaper energy and faster chip. As Raoul Pal notes, by the end of the decade, humanoid robots with superhuman intelligence could perform work for a fraction of the cost of a human, reshaping entire industries. When that shift occurs, wealth will increasingly flow to those who own assets and code, while everyone else competes against machines that never tire. By as early as 2030, we could face a world with virtually infinite labor and debt, leaving ordinary people dependent on systems teetering under their own weight. Pal's solution? Scarce digital assets, particularly Bitcoin. Unlike fiat or labor, Bitcoin cannot be printed, copied, or replaced by machines, making it the ultimate defense against the economic upheaval AI and robotics are set to unleash.
I've, for my whole career of 30 years, have invested in big picture trends in economies and markets, looking into the future and saying, where's the world going to go? And creating the linkages and betting on that. And here we've got to the first place ever for me, where I get to some date like 2030, could be 2032, I don't know. I have no fucking idea. And so if I've no idea, and I'm considered an expert in doing this, and you listen to the AI people, they don't really know. Nobody really knows. The governments have no idea what's happening. I'm thinking, okay, well, if I'm right, we've got about 5 years to sort our shit out. And so that means if I'm trying to think, how do I get through this massive change? This is going to be the biggest change to human civilization in its history, because we were always the top of the tree, and now we're not. We're the next rung down. And then eventually there'll be artificial superintelligence, which will mean that the regular AI will be the next rung down, will be the third rung down. So if that's the case, the easiest way to get through it is to try and make as much money as possible now, so you're buffered from it. If you can observe it from a beach in the Cayman Islands drinking a pina colada, it's better than being disrupted in everything that you do. How do you make a choice if you're coming out of university? What job do you do? I don't know. Of course, there'll be opportunities, and we'll talk about that later for humans, but we don't know what they are yet. And so you've got enormous amounts of risk, and the best way of hedging the risk is have a buffer, and investing is the only way. So that's what I fear. If you don't do anything, you've got maximum uncertainty. I mean, about the largest uncertainty humanity's ever had. And you don't have a cash buffer to deal with it. And the cash that you're earning has been devalued in the meantime. So could the currency of humanity be compute? I mean, really, the fundamental currency of humanity is energy. Really, because it's energy that does everything that we do. That's what creates all the output. And upstream of even energy is attention. Humans, that's what we actually all do, is like, it's some form of attention, whether it's the purest attention of love, or the attention of being online, or the attention of, even having a certain degree from university gives you attention, all of that stuff. So could compute be that? Yes, but who owns the compute to start with? What, OpenAI? So are we supposed to be grateful that they give us compute? Or are we better off to say, you know what, we should be paid for our attention? Because humans are humans. That's the one thing AI can't do, is be a human. So let us do human things, and we get paid for the attention. This is this whole idea of Web3 and where crypto's going, which is the idea that right now, let's say this is on YouTube. You get some share of the ad revenue, but it's not a lot. And Google make a fortune, and the advertisers get access to the viewer. But maybe in the world, we can share in that. So if we're giving our attention, we get paid for some of that attention too. Okay, that becomes an interesting model. It worries me that if it's just about compute, then we have to go begging to somebody to say, please, sir, can I have some more compute? That's not a way. I don't think. But I understand that compute is going to be central to everything. You know, this compute, energy, intelligence flywheel. And if intelligence is free, what do we need the compute for? So I've got a thesis about this, is that as humans, we can't be disrupted as humans. As labor, as workers, yes. But as humans, we can't. So here's how I think about this. The machines started beating humans at chess 30 years ago. Yet chess is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why? Because humans love to see humans compete with each other. And okay, that's kind of an interesting signal. You know, in the future, a lot of podcasts will be AI characters creating podcasts. But in real life meetups, that's human. You won't change that either. Sports events, you won't change that. You won't change music events. Yes, ABBA are on tour in the UK. Well, not on tour. There is a venue in the UK as holograms. But then the experience is actually a bunch of humans watching an ABBA event. So I think the ability to be human is the answer to everything. What that means, we don't know yet. But human attention, you know, is what humans actually crave of all. So that is an economic system in its own right. So there are lots of answers to where this weird world is going. And I don't believe it's going to be universal basic income. We're all at home with our headsets on playing video games all day. There'll be plenty of other interesting, exciting opportunities. It'll just be different. Much like it was different, you know, if you go back 100 years and say to people, well, nowadays, you know, we've all got computers in our pockets. We do this, we call people, we watch stuff on screens. They would think it's completely weird, but, you know, we'll just change.
So a somewhat optimistic view.
Optimistic
if you have some money.
with a gut-wrenching change in the middle. It's going to be confusing. The political system's going to be angry about it. Right. They're taking our jobs. Why am I not making any money? I can't get through it. This is going to really ramp up. But yes, if you've got some money, if you take steps to make some money, you will have a much higher probability of getting through this smoothly.
So to put it in your words, how do you unfuck your life for the next 5 years?
So I think almost everybody knowing this understands why I use that kind of mimetic language of how to unfuck your future, because everyone feels like their future's been fucked. When they looked at their parents, they were buying houses in their 20s. You know, if I go back to when I bought my first house or apartment, yeah, I was working in investment banking in London. I was like 25. I wasn't earning a massive salary, but I was in a high-paid industry. Okay, fine. But I bought an apartment. It was 3.5 times my income. The same apartment in London for the same investment banking employees, 25 years old, 10 times, 12 times. So even the deposit now is more than I paid for the house. I mean, that's how fucked we are, and it's only getting worse. You see, as we keep debasing the currency by 8% a year, these assets naturally just go up 8% because, again, it's the optics of the denominator, the value of money falling, so it buys less. So that goes up, and then we got normal inflation. Just, you know, go to the bloody supermarket or a restaurant in the United States. It's insanity how expensive it is now. But wages, well, they go up about 3% a year. Maybe if you're really lucky, 5% a year. But still, you kind of feel like you're on the hamster wheel and you just don't get anywhere. And that's what we've got to solve for people. Because if you don't break out of this, you're trapped. And it's a huge trap. And it's not going to change.
Raoul Pal admits that, for the first time in his 30-year career, he has no clear sense of where the world is headed. By 2030, He warns, artificial intelligence and robotics could push humanity down the intelligence ladder, sparking the largest shift in civilization's history. Governments, economists, and even AI experts are struggling to grasp just how fast these changes will happen. Pal emphasizes that the only real defense is wealth. Building a financial buffer now could mean the difference between surviving disruption or being crushed by it. As cash loses value and automation eliminates jobs, the next economy will revolve around energy, attention, and digital ownership. This is where crypto plays a vital role, offering a way to own your output and safeguard your freedom in a world increasingly governed by code and machines. The question is simple: are you ready for this global transformation? For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.